What is that?
Kawhi Leonard's $28 million fraud scandal has thrown the Clippers into turmoil. What started as rumors of secret side deals has escalated into a full-scale crisis of the team. When Kawhi's coach, Tyronn Lue, faced questions, his hesitant response, combined with Kawhi's silence, only intensified the controversy. Let's unpack it. The background. The $28 million fraud scandal linked to Kawhi Leonard didn't originate with him, but with a financial startup named Aspiration. Launched in 2013 by Joe Sandberg, a wealthy investor and political contributor, and Andre Chernay, a former speechwriter for Bill Clinton. The company marketed itself as an ethical fintech bank. It promised clients a way to combat climate change via daily banking, offered debit cards that planted trees, carbon-neutral credit cards, and services converting spending into reforestation projects. The pitch attracted big-name celebrity supporters like Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert Downey Jr., Drake, Cindy Crawford, and Orlando Bloom, who signed multi-million-dollar endorsement contracts to promote its cause. By 2021, Aspiration had secured over $600 million in funding, achieved a valuation of $2.3 billion, and signed a $300 million sponsorship deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, including jersey patches and arena branding at the soon-to-open Intuit Dome. It even bid nearly $1 billion for naming rights, winning with a $550 million offer. Yet, behind the eco-friendly image, federal investigators later determined Aspiration was a scam, misleading investors, misusing money, and exaggerating its environmental impact. Eventually, Kawhi Leonard became entangled. Records showed that in April 2022, Aspiration inked a 4-year endorsement deal with Leonard's shell company, KL2 Aspire LLC, paying him $28 million annually. Bankruptcy filings later revealed $21 million had been disbursed before Aspiration folded, leaving $7 million unpaid. On paper, it was a standard celebrity sponsorship. Leonard would promote the company. Yet multiple ex-Aspiration employees told Pablo Torres' podcast that Leonard delivered nothing. He never appeared publicly, posted on social media, gave interviews, or wore any Aspiration branding.
Out in every single KPI. So They weren't actually key performance indicators, KPIs. They were, if you feel as though this is something that doesn't align with you, or it's too big of an ask, or maybe you don't want to post on social media, maybe you don't want to wear our gear, just let us know, or you don't have to.
Torai and his team combed through thousands of documents, Instagram posts, press releases, and media coverage. The number of times Leonard mentioned Aspiration publicly was exactly 0.
Grand total number of times that I found Kawhi Leonard ever publicly referencing Aspiration was this.
Ultimately, 0.
This sharply contrasted with other celebrities. DiCaprio released statements praising Aspiration's mission. Robert Downey Jr. recorded commercials urging people to reduce their carbon footprint. Drake gave interviews calling its strategy inspiring. Even Doc Rivers, Leonard's former coach, joined in promotions. Kawhi, however, did nothing. Despite this, his payout was the largest. The deal immediately raised questions about salary cap circumvention. Under NBA rules, all player compensation must be fully disclosed and counted against the salary cap. Teams cannot secretly channel money through outside sponsors. Back in 2019, during Leonard's free agency, the league had already investigated claims that his uncle and business manager, Dennis Robertson, sought improper perks like housing equity and third-party endorsements. The Clippers were cleared, but these allegations resurfaced in Torres' reporting. Robertson was again listed as the contact and negotiator in Leonard's Aspiration contract. The contract itself, uncovered in Torres' investigation, detailed the arrangement.
This endorsement agreement is effective as of April 1, 2022. The company will pay KL2, which is Kawhi, $28 million in cash during the term of this agreement. Company will pay KL2 $7 million each year of the term.
Leonard's autograph appeared next to CEO Andre Cherney's. The address for all legal correspondence was listed as care of Dennis Robertson.
But as for the listed address, for where any and all legal notices for Kawhi Leonard
Leonard's autograph appeared next to CEO Andre Cherny's. The address for all legal correspondence was listed as care of Dennis Robertson.
But as for the listed address, for where any and all legal notices for Kawhi Leonard will be sent, what does that say there?
KL2 Aspire LLC, care of Dennis Robertson.
And Uncle Dennis is also listed elsewhere in this contract, by the way, as his nephew's designated.
The timing of the deal made it even more suspicious. In September 2021, Clippers owner Steve Ballmer personally invested $50 million into Aspiration. Just weeks later, the Clippers announced their $300 million sponsorship deal with the company. Months after that, Leonard's LLC was registered and his endorsement agreement finalized. Former Aspiration Finance officials claim Ballmer's investment provided the liquidity needed to pay Leonard. They describe it as a round-trip transaction. Ballmer's money went into Aspiration, and millions flowed out to Leonard.
$50 million. $50 million of this money came from Ballmer's personal LLC. That enormous infusion of money from Steve Ballmer, $50 million, is what allowed the allegedly fraudulent Green Bank to quite eagerly pay Kawhi Leonard $28 million.
While Ballmer maintains he was defrauded and unaware of Leonard's deal, rival NBA executives call the arrangement unprecedented. A long-tenured general manager told Tor, "This does not happen. I've never seen it." Former Aspiration employees described it as an internal open secret, laughing at how obvious the cap circumvention was. One said, "We went through a litany of contracts. Oh, by the way, we also have a $28 million deal with Kawhi. Don't ask questions." It was explicitly to bypass the salary cap.
We went through a litany of, really, really top tier name contracts. And then, oh, by the way, we also have a marketing deal with Kawhi Leonard, a $28 million organic marketing sponsorship deal with Kawhi. And that if I had any questions about it, essentially don't, because it was to circumvent the salary cap, LOL. There was lots of...
The scale of Leonard's payout overshadowed all other endorsement contracts. DiCaprio received $57 million. Robert Downey Jr. earned $68 million. Drake's deal was about $5 million. Kawhi's payout, however, totaled $28 million in cash plus a reported $20 million in stock options, potentially $48 million, nearly matching Ballmer's $50 million investment. This was striking given Leonard's reputation. He is one of the NBA's most private, frugal stars, known for keeping a low profile and avoiding endorsements. Tales of him driving a decade-old Chevy Tahoe and panicking over loss-free Wingstop coupons highlighted his indifference to money outside basketball. He rarely speaks publicly and shuns commercial appearances. Yet, he signed the largest deal on Aspiration's celebrity roster without delivering any work. The pressing question became whether the Clippers had essentially purchased Leonard's loyalty by funneling extra money through Aspiration. If true, this could constitute a violation of NBA rules on cap circumvention, a cardinal sin, according to Commissioner Adam Silver. By early 2025, Aspiration had collapsed. After defaulting on its Clippers sponsorship in 2022, it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in March 2025. Reporting $500 million in liabilities against $50 million in assets. Among its largest creditors were the Clippers, $30 million, Ballmer's For Entertainment, $11 million, and Leonard's KL2 Aspire, LLC, $7 million. The collapse coincided with federal indictments. Sandberg, who controlled 70% of the company, pleaded guilty to wire fraud in August 2025 for defrauding investors of over $248 million. Prosecutors described Aspiration as a Ponzi-like operation, exaggerating its financial health and misappropriating investor funds. The bankruptcy trustee alleged that deals like Leonard's were designed not to promote the brand, but to inflate valuations and attract new capital. Pablo Torres' investigation, released September 3rd, 2025, exposed the story publicly, highlighting Leonard's no-show, the Ballmer connection, and Robertson's role. The report triggered immediate media attention and compelled the NBA to act. On September 3rd, The league confirmed it had hired an external law firm to investigate whether the Clippers circumvented the salary cap. The initial reporting outlined the stakes. If violations were proven, potential penalties could include multi-million-dollar fines, forfeiture of first-round draft picks, voiding of Leonard's contracts, or suspensions for executives. Precedents included the 2015 Clippers fine for improper pitches to DeAndre Jordan and the 2019 Pelicans fine for tampering with Zion Williamson. For Leonard, the scandal threatened his public image. Known as a two-time Finals MVP, defensive anchor, and quiet superstar, he now faced association with a scheme that could undermine his reputation as a disciplined, no-nonsense competitor. For Ballmer, it challenged his credibility as the NBA's richest owner, claiming he had been duped. For the league, it tested whether its cap system could withstand sophisticated financial maneuvers. What began as a buried contract in a failed green bank suddenly became front-page news. The fallout, the consequences from Pablo Torres's revelations were immediate. Within hours of the report's release on September 3rd, 2025, the Los Angeles Clippers were engulfed in scandal. Headlines across ESPN, Yahoo, and CBS labeled the $28 million Kawhi Leonard aspiration deal as unprecedented, dubbing it the rotten apple tree of NBA greed. Tyronn Lue, Leonard's head coach, faced the cameras first. Already managing a fragile roster built around Kawhi and an injury-shortened Paul George, Lue had to respond to allegations that the franchise centerpiece was implicated in fraud and under investigation. While measured in tone, his response revealed unease over the uncertainty surrounding his star player. The scandal's roots went beyond a single endorsement. The NBA had long been cautious of Leonard's inner circle. During the summer of 2019, after Leonard entered free agency, following a championship with the Toronto Raptors, multiple teams lodged formal complaints regarding improper requests from his uncle and business manager, Dennis Robertson. Allegations included demands for ownership stakes, real estate, and third-party financial incentives. At the time, Commissioner Adam Silver authorized an investigation, but no evidence was found and the case was closed. These suspicions resurfaced. The aspiration contract explicitly listed Robertson as Leonard's designated representative, receiving all legal correspondence for KL2 Aspire LLC. The structure mirrored the 2019 concerns that Robertson was negotiating off-the-books benefits linked directly to Leonard's free agency and contract extensions. The central question became whether Steve Ballmer, the billionaire Clippers owner, effectively funneled money to Leonard through aspiration. Former Aspiration employees told Tor that the sequence constituted a round trip of funds. Ballmer's investment entered Aspiration, legitimized via the Clippers sponsorship, and then circulated back to Leonard as an endorsement payout. The arrangement bypassed the NBA's salary cap, while maintaining the appearance of independent business transactions. The NBA's salary cap system exists to prevent exactly this. Article 3 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement forbids any off-the-books compensation. Teams cannot provide players with perks that are not disclosed in contracts and counted against the cap. Even minor benefits, free family tickets, luxury cars, or paid housing, are prohibited unless explicitly listed in league-approved deals. Commissioner Silver has repeatedly called cap circumvention a cardinal sin that undermines the integrity of competition. Accordingly, the NBA acted swiftly. On September 3rd, it confirmed hiring an external law firm, reportedly WTL, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz, the same firm that investigated Donald Sterling and Robert Sarver, to lead the inquiry. The investigation focused on three issues: whether Ballmer's $50 million investment was linked to Leonard's endorsement contract, whether Robertson's negotiations constituted illegal third-party compensation, and whether the Clippers organization knew of or facilitated the arrangement. Ballmer denied any wrongdoing, insisting he was a fraud victim. On September 5th,
guys who committed fraud. How would I be able? Look, they conned me.
He told ESPN. Ballmer's defense rests on several key points. First, he asserts that all deals were executed separately and in proper sequence. The Clippers signed Leonard to his extension in August 2021 before any Aspiration involvement. Only afterward did Aspiration approach the team about a sponsorship deal. Only once that was completed did they request an introduction to Leonard for a potential endorsement.
With Kawhi, before any of this, before Kawhi even knows these people. We've signed our deal. That's high integrity. We made our deal with...
According to Ballmer, Aspiration approached the Clippers seeking a sponsorship aligned with the team's environmental initiatives. The company offered an enormous sum, over $300 million, for a 23-year partnership that was simply too advantageous to decline. Ballmer was especially interested because he was already committed to making the new Intuitive Dome carbon neutral and saw Aspiration as an ideal partner. His personal investment came later, which he claims was a separate business decision based on what he now knows were fraudulent financial statements. He emphasized that his $50 million investment gave him less than 3% ownership, with no board seat and no operational control.
Literally, I had no control over the company. Literally, even when I invested, I think there was somebody who put in 6 times as much money as I did. No control. And that's okay.
Regarding the introduction between Leonard and Aspiration, Ballmer maintained was a routine business courtesy. NBA rules allow teams to introduce sponsors to players, provided the team does not negotiate any endorsement deals. Ballmer stated the introduction occurred in early November 2021, well after all other agreements were finalized. Most importantly, Ballmer claimed complete ignorance about the terms of Leonard's deal with Aspiration. He claims he had no knowledge of the no-show nature of the contract or the exact dollar amounts involved. The core of Ballmer's defense is that he was victimized by an elaborate fraud orchestrated by Aspiration's leadership. Aspiration co-founder Joseph Sandberg had indeed pleaded guilty to defrauding investors of over $248 million using falsified financial records and fake business metrics to attract funding.
I reviewed, my staff reviewed primarily fraudulent financials. Now, should I have sniffed it out? Maybe. I feel embarrassed and kind of silly that I didn't sniff it out, but I didn't.
Ballmer notes that he wasn't the only sophisticated investor deceived by Aspiration. Other major investors and lenders also committed funds based on the same falsified documents. The fraud was sophisticated enough to mislead multiple parties conducting due diligence. The Clippers organization echoed Ballmer's defense in an official statement. Neither Mr. Ballmer nor the Clippers circumvented the salary cap or engaged in any misconduct related to Aspiration. Any contrary claims are demonstrably false. The team emphasized that they ended their relationship with Aspiration during the 2022-23 season, when the company defaulted on its sponsorship obligations. They also noted full cooperation with all investigations, including federal authorities examining Aspiration's fraud. Leonard, by contrast, remained silent. Neither he nor Robertson responded to messages or media inquiries. This silence fueled speculation that Robertson, not Leonard, orchestrated the arrangement. Former Aspiration finance officials described Robertson as priority one, demanding that Leonard's payments be fulfilled before any other obligations.
There were weekly meetings about who was going to get paid what and when. And during those weekly meetings, Kawhi Leonard's contract was always set to be paid.
Even in a time of total financial hardship for the company, why?
There were multiple reasons we were given. One being that Kawhi's uncle was calling.
Wait, this is Uncle Dennis.
Uncle Dennis. Uncle Dennis was calling, and Uncle Dennis demanded payment. It was priority one.
Meanwhile, Tyrone Lue faced questions about how the scandal would impact his team. The Clippers were already struggling to remain competitive around Leonard and George, who had both missed significant time due to injuries. Now, potential sanctions, including lost draft picks or voided contracts, threatened to derail the franchise entirely. Historical precedents highlighted the risk. In 2015, the Clippers were fined $250,000 for improper benefits in recruiting DeAndre Jordan. In 2019, the Pelicans were fined $10 million for tampering with Zion Williamson. In extreme cases, the league has voided contracts completely. Analysts speculated that if evidence connected Ballmer's investment to Leonard's deal, the NBA could consider voiding Leonard's contract, a seismic punishment that would instantly alter the Clippers' future. As the NBA probe intensified, pressure on Tyrone Lue increased. His team had to start the 2025-26 season under the shadow of potential penalties, eroded trust, and constant media scrutiny. Leonard's silence left Lou as a de facto spokesman, answering questions about a scandal he had no role in creating. And that is where the stories shift from defense to disbelief. Because outside observers interpret the scandal very differently. The bigger picture. Critics, however, aren't buying Ballmer's innocent victim narrative. The timeline and circumstances raised too many red flags for many to believe it was mere coincidence.
I don't think that he helped himself at all in the process. If anything, the guy hurt himself. If anything, he made it worse. If anything, he made it much worse. If Toilet Man thought that he was about to convince us of his innocence, then he thought wrong.
The skepticism is understandable when considering the sheer magnitude of the supposed coincidences. A billionaire businessman invests $50 million in a company, which then pays his star player $28 million for no work, and he claims to have no knowledge of it. The numbers alone raise eyebrows. Ballmer's investment nearly matched Leonard's total payout. Critics also question why Leonard, renowned for his extremely reclusive personality and minimal endorsement activity, would command $28 million from any company, especially one struggling financially. Leonard rarely gives interviews, seldom posts on social media, and has a track record turning down lucrative endorsements.
If you had 48 mil to offer somebody to be a spokesman, you could get almost anybody for that amount of money. That's enough money to secure a contract with pretty much any major public figure with any amount of charisma. And they picked the guy with none?
The defense also faces difficulty explaining why Aspiration would hand such a massive sum to Leonard if the goal was solely to defraud investors. If the company was running a scam, why not simply retain the money rather than pay someone who would provide no value in return? Legal experts note that even if Ballmer didn't directly orchestrate the scheme, his involvement could still constitute an NBA rules violation. The league salary cap regulations are specifically designed to prevent this type of indirect compensation, regardless of intent. Analysts observed that Leonard's situation could rival past cases in severity. For the star, the implications went beyond financial penalties. Known for his reserved personality and on-court dominance, Leonard had built a reputation for discipline and frugality. Torres' investigation highlighted the contradiction. The same player who panicked over lost Wingstop coupons had signed a $28 million deal that required nothing from him, beyond immediate penalties for Clippers or reputational damage to Kawhi Leonard. The scandal raises fundamental questions about the modern NBA's structure and integrity. The league has evolved into a player-empowered era, where superstars wield tremendous influence over team operations, free agency, and league economics. The Aspiration case suggests that this power dynamic may create opportunities for sophisticated circumvention schemes undetectable by traditional enforcement mechanisms. Consider Leonard's tenure with the Clippers. Since joining in 2019, he has played in fewer than 60% of regular season games due to injuries and load management protocols. Yet the team consistently prioritized keeping him satisfied over winning games or developing other players. The Aspiration payments, if confirmed, would represent the ultimate manifestation of this dynamic, paying a player millions for literally nothing in return. Perhaps most concerning is what this case exposes about the effectiveness of current salary cap enforcement. If a scheme this elaborate and expensive could operate for years without detection, what other violations might exist across the league? The NBA's salary cap system relies heavily on trust and voluntary compliance, with relatively limited investigative resources devoted to uncovering sophisticated circumvention schemes. The league's competitive balance has already been under pressure in recent years, as certain large market teams consistently outspend rivals despite salary cap restrictions. The Lakers, Warriors, and Clippers have all exceeded the luxury tax threshold by massive margins, effectively treating financial penalties as a routine cost of doing business. If wealthy owners can also bypass the salary cap through inventive third-party arrangements, the entire system of competitive balance could be jeopardized. The investigation's outcome will likely influence the next round of collective bargaining agreement negotiations between the league and players' union. Team owners may advocate for stricter enforcement and broader definitions of circumvention, while players may resist expanded oversight that limits their earning potential and business opportunities. Simultaneously, the scandal exposed larger issues of greenwashing and celebrity involvement in financial fraud. Aspiration had presented itself as a sustainable alternative to big banks, promising to plant billions of trees and offset carbon footprints. In reality, prosecutors revealed that under 5% of pledge funds reach environmental projects. Celebrity endorsements, from DiCaprio to Drake, were exploited to project legitimacy, concealing a Ponzi-like operation. Leonard's no-show deal stood out as the starkest example. Tens of millions spent for silence. The implications extended beyond basketball. The scandal eroded trust in ESG, environmental social governance, investing, prompting FTC scrutiny of other fintech companies making eco-claims. It highlighted how wealthy owners, celebrity athletes, and fraudulent startups could intersect to destabilize both financial and sports institutions. For now, the NBA investigation continues. League officials have pledged updates by mid-season, but no final findings have been released. Leonard remains silent. Robertson avoids questions. Ballmer continues to insist he was a victim. The Clippers play on under a cloud of uncertainty. Their future depended not only on injuries and performance, but also on the outcome of a legal and regulatory gauntlet. The scandal's conclusion remains unwritten. If the NBA uncovers evidence linking Ballmer's investment to Leonard's payout, penalties could rival the harshest in league history. If not, the Clippers may escape with fines and reputational damage. Either way, the case has already reshaped perceptions of the franchise, its star player, and its owner. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.